Hi, everyone, and welcome to Where's God podcast. In this podcast, we find God in movies, shows, songs, and places where He's not obviously found, and we try to find Him in our own stories. This week's episode is Where's God in the new movie Fly Me to the Moon. And I just saw it over the weekend and I ended up liking it. I thought it was fun and cute and overall lighthearted. I thought it brought up new themes that I haven't seen in a while or discussed in the podcast, so I was happy about that. If you haven't seen the movie, I will be giving away spoilers, so you probably want to watch it first. And stay tuned for the end of the episode because I'm going to be sharing my two favorite quotes from the movie that are refrigerator or written on your mirror worthy. They're really good. So the movie is about the moon landing, and it's been almost 10 years of them trying to land on the moon and trying to beat the Russians. And it's about two main characters. One of the characters is the director of the astronauts and the flight, who is Channing Tatum, and the other main character is an expert in marketing, Scarlett Johansson, who has been hired to make the American people root for the moon landing again and get funding for the trip. She is basically hired by the president. It ends up being her idea to film the moon landing. And I think most of the film is made up because there was really nothing in the credits talking about any of the people or the story. So I think most of it was made up. But there is a push and pull between the two main characters the whole movie. She is advertising and selling and putting spins on things to win people over, whereas he's just trying to get the astronauts to the moon and get them back home as safe as possible. He feels like she's always lying in her marketing schemes and not selling the truth. She's trying to make them believe using dishonest means. And it made me think of all the different things the world is trying to sell us. Like just thinking of social media, they're advertising these jeans, wear these jeans and you'll look super skinny. Use this cream and your wrinkles will go away. Do these 5 things every day and you'll be happier. Eat this, not that, to lose weight. Which political views are right? There are so many different ideas being thrown at us in every direction using really persuasive means, just like Scarlett in the movie. And it's definitely given me anxiety in my life trying to figure out what's true, what I should believe in, because there's so many different ideologies out there. And in the movie, they get Scarlett Johansson to create this fake moon landing set so that they can recreate what it looks like on the moon and use that footage if the astronauts don't actually make it to the moon. And they're using sand, they've got a fake rocket ship that looks really real, they've got actors for astronauts, they've got harnesses attached to the astronauts with ropes that make them look like they're experiencing anti-gravity. It all looks completely real. So how can you tell what's the real moon landing and what's the fake made-up set? You really can't. And at one point of the movie, they can't even tell if what's being filmed is what's real on the moon landing or what's fake. They both look exactly the same. So sometimes it's like that in life. Like, how do we know what's true and what's not? And thankfully, what's given me calm and peace in my life is knowing that there's one truth, and that's God's truth. It brings me a lot of comfort knowing that I can rely on God's truth and that it can ground me and comfort me in the storm of ideas that I can get lost in. And God's truth is grounding and it is enduring. But like I was talking about in the movie, they couldn't tell which one they were looking at, whether it was the real moon landing or not. Sometimes in life it is hard to know what God's truth is, or it's hard to believe it sometimes. And I was listening to another podcast and it said that believing is an issue of the heart. Yes, we can make logical, smart decisions when following God's word, but it's also trying to connect our heart with God. It's our feelings and emotions too that can help us believe and anchor us to God. There's a really sweet part in the movie where Scarlett Johansson, she is running away. because things are getting too hard for her. She can't face the truth. And she's at the airport getting ready to leave. And she opens this book that her friend gifted her, full of all these sketches that her friend made of her and the astronauts. Her and Channing Tatum, her and her friend. And it's like really touching to Scarlett Johansson. It's a really beautiful part. And even though they're just sketches and they're not actual photos of the people, they catch the realness and beauty of these people and the relationships. And it inspires Scarlett so much. It makes her decide not to leave and fight for her relationship with Channing Tatum and face the consequences of her actions, all because this book, these sketches touched her heart and made her remember what's most important and meaningful about life, the relationships. So I think when we're willing to be vulnerable, God will teach us his truths and keep adding upon them. So I asked myself the question, what are God's truths? What are they? And what do I believe in? Which truths do I need right now to help me in my life? And I thought of two truths that I needed reassurance on, and that knowing they were true would help me right now. The first truth I want to think about and know to be true is, does God answer my prayers? This has always been a hard one in my life because sometimes I feel like I'm asking, which direction should I go? Or please help me know what to do. And I feel like I don't get answers. And sometimes I do feel in the moment when I ask for peace, I get peace. But sometimes I don't always feel that my prayers are answered. And I feel like a lot of times this holds me back from praying because I just think, well, I'm not going to get an answer, so I don't want to pray and lose more faith in God, or I'm just not good enough or worthy enough to receive the answers that I need for God to answer my prayer. But this is a truth I want to know. And I want to know that God answers prayers. So just kind of like what the podcast said that I was listening to, it said, begin where I am and where my heart is, and pray to know. The second truth I want to know of with surety is, can I change? Can my mindset be changed? Can my weaknesses be turned into strengths? Can God make me the person I want to be? This one I think is going to be a little bit harder. It's going to require more work, but if I start where I am and lean in with my heart, I can know for myself if this is one of God's truths. And I think that truths take time to learn and they have to be relearned, but God will always give us experiences to witness truths if we seek them. So I wanted to share a couple lines from the movie that I really liked that I'll leave you with. And the first one is, you can win people over by just being who you are. You don't have to hide behind anything or pretend you're something different. You can win people over by just being who you are. And the second line that I really liked from the movie is, truth is still the truth, even if no one believes it. God's truth will always prevail, even if millions of people disagree. If you've felt that witness, then you can always rely on that truth no matter what other people say. And it brings me comfort knowing that there is one truth that I can hold fast to. So I encourage you to think of a couple of God's truths that you've been taught and gain a deeper testimony of them this week and see how they can help you. Maybe you want to ponder the truth of the worth of souls is great in God's eyes, or the truth of ask and you shall receive, or the truth of forgiveness. There's lots of good ones. And I hope this week that you can find God in your story.